All right, we are getting ready to go live.
Cool.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, we are going live. So, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Marcy Cleveland. I'm with Hudson Valley Green Homes. We are a division of the Gibbs team at Keller Williams Realty, Hudson Valley United, where we believe that green education for the homeowner is an essential part of our business. So, Craig, do you know what this week is?
Of course. It is Earth Day tomorrow, which makes it Earth Week, Earth
That's
Month.
right. I have my Earth Day shirt on, and this Wednesday, which is tomorrow, is the 50th celebration of Earth Day. And what a great way to kick off our Lunch and Learn series, talking about solar, how that moves us one step closer to 100% renewable energy, reduces utility costs, and it also increases value of homes for the homeowner. Before we actually get started in our discussion, we have a couple of housekeeping items to talk about. First, if you have a question or a comment, go ahead and put that in the Facebook chat, and we'll get to that during the interview. And also, we want to encourage everyone to stick around until the end of the webinar because we have a couple of fun things going on. First, we have a contest, which the winner will receive a $10 gift card to Dunkin' Donuts. And then we also have a special promotion with SunCommon that's going to be a benefit to both you and a small business of your choice, which is so important right now, supporting our communities. We just have a lot of struggling folks out there. Before I turn it over to Craig Hightower with SunCommon, I have to say a few words about SunCommon because they are one of my favorite companies here in the Hudson Valley. These folks are a certified B Corp, which means they place people and planet above profit. They are engaged in homeowner education about renewable energy. They do a lot of community outreach regarding climate change. And I've met a lot of the employees. They're just great, genuine, honest folks who are dedicated to the mission of their company and products and services. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Craig.
Well, thanks, Marcy. And thank you for putting this together and for bringing me in and us at SunCommon in to be a part of it. Hello to everybody tuning in, and I hope everybody is well, especially any frontline workers out there. Thank you for your service. I'm glad to be here. So I started in the solar industry about 10 years ago in the Central Valley of California. This career has been a exciting roller coaster, or solar coaster, if you will. That's taken me from California, stopped in Minnesota, now here in the Hudson Valley for going on 3 years now. I came to work at SunCommon for a lot of what you had mentioned, Marcy, the fact that we are a company that genuinely cares about doing things the right way and putting our people and our planet on equal footing as profit. So we do a lot of great stuff. We have a lot of solutions to help not just one particular set of folks go solar, but really anybody to go solar. So glad to be here, and thanks for putting this together.
Great, we are glad to have you. So let's start off the discussion as if, well, I've been interested in the solar for a while, personally for my own home. And if I were someone that just was getting started and I really wanted to take a look for myself before involving any installers or calling anybody, what are some things that I can do to assess my own home if I would be a good candidate?
Sure. So you really, I would say, start with figuring out what's most important to you. So why do you want to go solar? Is it for environmental reasons, financial reasons, the sustainability, the protection from the unknown, which is probably more on top of mind now. But think about those things first. Second off, do you get sunlight on your roof or in your yard? Here at SunCommon, we don't stop at just rooftop installations. So if you know that your roof is, first off, you want to have southern exposure is best. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have that, or if you have a lot of shade that's hitting your roof, take a look around your yard, find out, do I have any sunlight? We're happy to help you really figure it out. And we have tools that can help us really gauge how much of that sun is going to be productive for you. But are you getting sun in your house? And then I would say the third thing is check with your utility company and find out how much power are you using. This will determine how big of a solar system that you would need. The utility companies will, pretty easily, either online or over the phone, give that usage history to you. 12 months, 2 years is even better.
Mhm.
So find out how much power you're using, how much do you need, and then also, do you plan for anything to change moving forward? Are you, is there an electric vehicle in your future, or a hot tub, or something that may use a lot more electricity? Or do you have some teenagers that are moving out and getting ready to go to college, and you expect that your electricity is going to be less? So start to think about those things, and then pick up the phone and give us a call or shoot us an email, and we're happy to help you kind of take it from there.
Cool. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know this. It's pretty easy. You just go on Google Maps. There's an option to look at a satellite view of your home. They do show you where north is, so you can pretty easily tell just looking from a satellite photo if you have good southeast, south, southwest exposure on your roof. You also can see the trees that are around you. But let's just say I look at that and I find that I don't have great southern exposure on my roof, or maybe the southern exposure is in the front part of my house and I don't want people to have to look at solar panels on the roof. What are my options?
Well, so ground mounts, which are, a solar array that's kind of staked to the ground.
Mhm.
And, is, again, you want southern exposure for that, but that's an option. Typically, if you've got an acre or more, you may be a good candidate for a ground mounted solar array. In my background here, and I'd love to be actually sitting underneath this thing right now, but
Mhm.
this is a virtual background. But this is a solar canopy, so this is an option. And then if nothing really works on site, which unfortunately it doesn't for everyone, that's okay. There are community solar options where you can get the benefits of solar energy, but without having actual panels installed and living on your property.
I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because I've been seeing a lot of ads on Facebook for community solar. I've gotten some mailers about going community solar, and that's something that I'm very interested in. A lot of them say, you can save between 5 and 10% if you switch to community solar. But I'm a little weary because it's like one of those things, like it sounds too good to be true, so maybe it is. And I don't know if there are hidden fees or if there's contracts I'm going to get locked into. So could you talk about how that is an option for folks?
Sure. So community solar comes with two different avenues that you can participate. So one of them is an ownership option where you actually own the share of your equipment and panels on a community solar array. Then the other one is a subscription, which likely if you've received something in the mail, that's going to be for a subscription model, which is going to be in that, yes, 5 to 10% savings range, which will be kind of claimed on that literature. It used to be when community solar started that you could be essentially locked into a contract and savings weren't guaranteed. The Public Service Commission of New York has really stepped in to help that. So in the current time that we're in now, if you were to get into a community solar subscription, you could feel pretty safe about it. Most of them will offer a guaranteed savings, or at least a savings expectation. And they've cut back on the length of time you could be, kind of stuck into a contract, down to a 90-day maximum. So part of the Public Service Commission rules require that a community solar developer would have to let you out of that contract or agreement with a 90-day notice and a maximum of $200 as a cancellation fee. So they've made it really less risky to participate in that, which is a good thing.
So it sounds like as far as a contract is concerned, it sounds like the most amount of time that you would be locked in is a 3-month period.
You got it.
Oh, that's great. So it kind of makes me think, like, why isn't everybody doing this? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Helping the environment and you're getting a cost savings.
Sure. And I always answer that question by just education. I think folks aren't taking the opportunity, or some folks aren't taking the opportunity to actually pick up the phone or do some research and educate on how the program works.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is a no-brainer. If nothing else, you can support locally produced clean energy. You can support a local developer. You're getting clean energy and you're getting it for less money than you would otherwise pay the utility. So if nothing else works at your home, community solar really is a great way to go.
Awesome. So let's say I'm a homeowner, I've looked at everything, my house looks great, I've got, a good roof, southern, and now I decide, okay, I'm going to go solar. What are my payment options for going that route?
Sure. So kind of going back to on-site solar, so having solar energy at your home. You've got really in the industry, you've got an ownership option where you actually own your system.
Okay.
You've got a lease, which I think a lot of people have heard of. Kind of a zero down. The company owns the solar panels, and you pay a monthly payment. And then there's also what's called a PPA, or a power purchase agreement, which you
Okay.
don't see a whole lot of those, but that's kind of the same sort of concept of a lease, just structured a little bit differently. We at SunCommon offer the ownership option because that is your best way to go solar. If you can own your system, you get the maximum benefits as opposed to a solar company who's going to get the better end of the deal. So owning it, is actually adding that value to your home. You own the system, you get the incentives, the tax credits, the rebates, and those type of things. So those are typically the three options you'll see. And then again, with community solar, either it would be an ownership, which does take that feel of an ownership model at your home, but your panels are living somewhere else. And then the subscription where, there's really, you kind of sign up for it, and that one's super easy. So
Yeah, and one thing that people should know is that, if you own your panels, we're seeing almost a 4% increase in home value when you turn around to sell your home. That's about $11,000 for the average selling price per home in the state of New York. So that is definitely something to take into consideration. If you lease your panels, that's considered personal property. And actually leasing your panels when you go to sell your home and you have to transfer that over to the new buyer can get pretty tricky. I
yep.
know, Craig, we've talked about this before, and you've seen some deals where that's actually killed the real estate deal. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in my experience, I've seen it where a new homeowner will qualify for the mortgage to buy the home, but the lease requires that new homeowner to do a credit check with the solar company to take over that lease. And, I don't know if there's an exact number of how often this happens, but it certainly happens where the new homeowner has taken a hit on their credit for the mortgage and then fails to qualify for the lease of the system. Then the homeowner that got into the lease is then responsible to either buy that out or really solve the problem. It can just get really messy, which
Yeah,
this,
it absolutely can.
yeah.
So here's a question. This is my question. I'm planning to be in my current home probably for the next 7 to 10 years until my kids get out of the house or until I push them out of the house. And so in that kind of a time frame, if I'm looking to sell like in 7 to 10 years, is it worth me, spending the money to buy solar panels?
I always think it's worth it to go solar. So for sure. In that time range though, and that is a unique situation where you really want to kind of think about going back to, what's important to you. What are you trying to accomplish by going solar? But the value is always there. So even if you were to move out in that 5 to 10 year range or 7 to 10 year range,
Right.
the value will still be there. You still have a valuable asset to your home. And if you think about it, solar is one, really the only home improvement that pays you back. So the new kitchen countertops aren't going to really pay you back in that sense. So solar is definitely something where it's never a bad idea to make that investment into your home. If you're doing it, if you're going to move within 1 to 2 years, maybe community solar would probably be a better fit for you.
Right.
But the value's there. And, I think it's still worth considering or at least exploring the option if you're in that 7 to 10 year moving range.
Right. And as I pointed out, we have that increase in value when I turn around to sell the home. We already know that a third of the buyers out there are looking for homes with solar panels on it, and we expect that number to continue to increase over time.
Yep.
So, which kind of brings me to the next question. Tax incentives. Now, I had heard that, they were going away the end of December 2019. What can you tell me about tax incentives? Do they still exist?
They do, but they're on their way down. So last year in 2019, if you went solar, you had a 30% federal investment tax credit that was available to you. This year in 2020, that's 26%. And next year in 2021, that will be 22%. In 2022, that's non-existent for homeowners where we sit today, unless something changes. So it is on its way down. Those tax credits are, really valuable when you think about that's money that you would otherwise give to the IRS. Might as well take that money and use it, for your home and your family. So those are stepping down. Net metering, which we'll likely talk about in this conversation, that's changing here in New York going into next year. So that's important. And then the rebate that New York State offers, which is a very good rebate. There's nothing really stating that that's going to go away, but it is a pool of money that will eventually dry up.
Right. So I just want to point out to everyone that that is a tax credit. That's not a tax deduction. That is your money. So if you get a $10,000 system, you're getting $2,600 of that back. If you have a federal tax return and you owe $2,600, well, now you have that tax credit that cancels that out and you don't owe the government anything. So
you got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll use it.
Okay, so another question. So I have two sections of my roof. One is newer than the other section. The one section is approaching 18 years, right? What do you recommend? Do I put panels on it or do I not? It's a 30-year shingle, but what,
Generally a good rule of thumb is anything 15 years old or less is as long as it's in good shape, is a green light to go ahead and go solar on it. Past that, getting in the 15 to 20 year range, best determined on a site evaluation. So we would, come take a really good look at your roof and advise you kind of after looking at it. But it's still doable, and the systems can come down and go back up on a new roof when you have to do it down the road. But again, something that I would say is a case by case example. It's still worth it. That cost to take the system down and put back up is still, you'll still save money and have made a good investment even if you have to do that down the road. So in that 15 to 20 year range, it's kind of case by case. But if you get any older than that and you're in the kind of in the realm of time where you need to replace your roof anyways, there is ways that the IRS would allow you to take the cost of the roof and tie it into the cost of the installation of the solar system and capture that tax credit as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So now we did get a question. And the question is, okay, so you're going to be drilling holes in my roof. What is the likelihood that this is going to cause a leak?
Slim to none. So not to say that it can't happen. Sure, it can happen. It's a penetration in your roof. So it's certainly something that can happen. However, we are a quality installer with NYSERDA, which is New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. And they only give that award to the top 10% of installers. So if leaky roofs or things like that were something that was happening on our watch, we wouldn't have that award. So we're very careful about the equipment we use, how we penetrate the roof, where we penetrate the roof, and we've got a really good record of not having that happen.
Okay, great. All right, another one of my questions. So I have an insulated attic. My energy nerd boyfriend went up there and he put like 6 inches of polyiso board to the roof. I mean, you can't even see my rafters. It looks like the space shuttle up there. How or are you even able to put solar panels if you can't see where you're drilling them into?
Yes, absolutely. So again, this is one of the things that we look at when we do a site evaluation, which is very thorough and in depth. So we don't just come over and start banging holes. We do a structural engineering process, an electrical engineering process. So we do have tools and ways to be able to confidently strap onto those rafters. But it is something that would be again determined in the site evaluation, and would be able to look and advise you on whether or not we can move forward. But in most cases, absolutely yes, we can do that.
Great. So it's not like it's not going to prevent me from getting them anyway.
Correct.
Okay, wonderful. So let's just talk about how I save money once the panels are installed. How does that work with my utility company? Does the utility company pay me if I'm actually producing more electricity than I'm using?
Possibly. So that goes back to what net metering is. And net metering is really what's made this industry work for homeowners.
Mhm.
And it's the idea that when you're producing solar energy, your meter is spinning backwards. That's a pretty common phrase that gets thrown around. Hey, my meter's spinning backwards. Really what that means is when you're producing your own solar power, you avoid buying that power from the utility company at what they're charging. So when you try to kind of think about what is the value of the solar energy that I'm producing, well, it's equal to the same price that you would otherwise pay for it from the utility company. And that's nice because utility rates are always increasing. So as utility rates get more and more expensive, the value of that solar energy that you're producing is getting more and more expensive. So to simplify that, it really is when you're producing your energy from your solar system, you're not buying that energy from the utility company. So that's where your savings comes from, is avoided cost with the utility.
Now, you said that's going away at the end of this year. So what happens then?
Yeah, so again, New York State and the Public Service Commission is changing to what's called a value stack. And we would take up the rest of our hour plus an additional hour to try and really explain what that means. But really, at the end of the day, it's more favorable to the utility companies and less favorable to homeowners. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not as predictable as net metering is. So it's, kind of the idea is if you've ever thought about going solar, it's a good time to really explore it because you do want that net metering. And if you go solar this year and your system is installed before the end of the year, you'll be grandfathered into net metering. If value stack becomes more beneficial in the future, you can switch from net metering to value stack,
Okay,
but you can't go from value stack back to net metering.
gotcha.
So it is definitely net metering is something that you want to have.
So basically just another reason that if you're thinking about doing it, this is a great year because you've got at least the 26% tax credit and you'll be able to get grandfathered into net metering.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
So here's kind of an interesting question. If my electricity goes out, I have solar panels. Does this mean that I'll still have electricity while my neighbors don't?
So unfortunately, just a solar system on its own, that would not happen. If the grid goes down, you will go down with it. And the reason for that is that your solar array, whatever your home is not using, that power is being fed back to the utility grid. And if that grid is down, let's say there's a linesman that's working on the power lines down the road, your solar system would be feeding live power back into that grid. And that's obviously unsafe. So that's why that your system gets shut down in the event of a power outage. Now, the solution to that is battery storage, a home battery. So if you do have a home battery, which we do offer, that's a way to store that power. In the event of a power outage, your battery would kick on and your home still has power when others don't.
Right. And I think a lot of us have probably heard about the Tesla wall
Yep.
battery. Yeah.
That's the power wall, yeah.
Yep, the power wall. So that would be a solution. I think they're still kind of expensive.
Yeah, so the price point is still up there, no doubt about it. However, there's a lot of benefits to it. So you have to pair it with solar, and the numbers come out to a sense where if you go far enough in time, say 20 years, your solar system will have paid for itself and your battery. So it is kind of a way to get that backup security and let your solar system pay for it.
Right.
Where a
And
regular fossil fuel generator, that value
yeah.
proposition.
And we had talked about this once before that if you're already looking at spending, anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 to put in an automatic generator that's going to power on with either natural gas or using other kind of gas. I mean, that's a dirty fuel. Why not just invest in having a clean battery system?
Right. Another kind of good point of the battery is that, the fuel for that battery is falling from the sky every day for free. So depending on what kind of scenario you're planning for, you don't have to worry about having that fuel source going and purchasing it. Will it be available? Will it not? the battery is being charged from the sunlight every day. So it's one less thing you have to worry about.
Okay.
Well, there are a lot of pros to it. Even though it is a little bit pricey, it's definitely worth the conversation to explore it.
And I would imagine over time, those batteries are going to start coming down in price, just like
Yeah.
the panels have come down in price.
Well, hopefully so. Yeah, it's still, the technology is still pretty new. We'll see.
Okay, great. Um, so if my goal is to have a $0 electrical bill, how do I get there? Can I get there with solar panels?
Well, so every utility company does have a basic service charge, a kind of a meter fee. So it's the cost to stay connected to their grid. That will be there. So solar, even if you have solar on site at your house, that won't really eliminate that basic connection fee. If you live in a residentially zoned area, the idea of just going off grid or disconnecting the grid is not doable for your own protection. So the rules state that you can't disconnect from the utility. It'd be nice if we could, but we can't. But going back to the battery, that really does give you the most off-grid system, even though you technically still be connected to the grid. But outside of that basic service charge, the price that you're paying for electricity itself, so you have two sections of your bill. You have a delivery charge and a supply charge. And the supply charge is the cost of the electricity. The delivery charge is the cost to bring that electricity to your home. So whatever you're producing from your solar system will eliminate what you would be buying from the utility on both sections of the bill, delivery and supply. So you can eliminate those costs, but the basic service charge is the only thing that would still exist.
Okay, great. So let's talk about maintenance of my panels. All right, what can I expect?
So very little maintenance. We live in this part of the country. We get enough rain really where the panels stay clean. We do get snow in the winter and we account for that. Okay. So during a consultation, when you're actually exploring an array for your home, one of the things we do is give you an expectation of how much power is this system going to produce for you. And we're pretty good at it. So within that, we know it's not going to be beautiful and sunny every day. We know we live in the northern part of the country where we get snow, and that's going to be on the panel, sure. But really the only maintenance is making sure that your panels are clean and able to capture sunlight. Snowfall is one of those things that would prevent that from happening. So we don't necessarily encourage anybody to climb on their snowy, icy roof to get that snow off. The panels have a glass surface with an anti-static coating. So really, as soon as there's a tiny amount of moisture between the snowpack and the surface of the panel, that snow is going to slide off your system a lot sooner than it would with your asphalt shingles. So they may be covered for a little bit of time, but not very long. And then outside of that, any type of issues with your system, if you have a malfunction or a defective panel or any of those type of things where your system's not working, all of that is covered under the warranty for the equipment. We offer a workmanship warranty. So all of those type of issues are really covered with the cost of the system. And then maintenance is really keeping them ready to absorb sunlight. That's really it.
So I have a question kind of tied to maintenance, but it's more about durability of the panels themselves. I did actually have a solar installer come out and look to see, what would be required. And one of the things that was suggested that if I didn't want to put them on my roof, I could do a solar array out in the backyard. And with 3 teenage boys and 2 dogs, I kind of was like, really? I mean, all I could think of was like a lacrosse ball getting chucked at this thing and it exploding. So how durable are they?
Pretty durable. So they're rated to live outdoors in the elements for a long period of time. So these panels really are durable. For example, how I started in this industry, I ran into a guy that had a solar cleaning business. Now, this is in the Central Valley of California, where there's a lot of huge commercial agriculture, so a lot of dust. So panels would get really, really dirty, and in California, it never rains. So we would actually go up and walk on these systems and clean them. And I'm not a small guy, so They really do. They're built very well. They're built to be strong and solid. They're rated to withstand a 1-inch object at over 80 miles an hour. So that lacrosse ball probably isn't going to cause any type of issues or break the panel or anything like that. They're built pretty well.
So hail damage?
Same thing, 1-inch object at 80 miles an hour. So very rarely, I've been doing this for quite some time. I've never once heard of hail damaging panels ever.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we did have a Facebook question come in. It says, at what point billing average does it make sense to add solar? If my monthly average bill is $100, is a solar panel a worthy investment?
Yeah, right about that mark. So $100 is a good rule of thumb to check it out and see. And yeah, I would say that's a good answer to that question. $100 is worth at least exploring.
Okay, excellent, great. So let's talk about the different types of panels, because I mean, I know you have like your Cadillac manufacturer that's maybe, you know, and then you have your ones that aren't as good. What range of products do you offer?
So we offer the LG Neons as our default panel. We're also a authorized SunPower dealer, which SunPower has kind of held that claim to fame as the most powerful panel on the market. And we still are. They're still the most efficient panel. What we look at is a kind of an all-in value when we're choosing modules to offer. And really the three main things are efficiency, so how much sunlight is being converted into electricity, price point, and warranty. And we feel like LG is the best quality panel available today. The LG Neons, we use either 350 watt panels or 375 watt panels. And then we also offer a lower priced module that's still, it's a tier 2. So it's, you know, a really, it would be the Honda if you're comparing kind of like Cadillac to Pinto. The LG would be the Cadillac, and the other option would be more in the range of like a Honda, which is still a really good car. It's going to last a really good long time. It's going to do what you want it to do, but just doesn't have that name brand kind of recognition as the LG does.
Okay, great. Now I heard it's not always just about the panels, but you also have to consider inverters, string inverters, micro inverters, hybrid system. You want to talk just a little bit about that without getting too technical?
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, up to about 5 years ago, it was string inverters. All or most solar systems were on a string inverter, which kind of think about the old Christmas light analogy, where if you had a string of Christmas lights and you pop one bulb off, everything past that bulb would shut down. That was the same thing with solar systems, where they would be in a string connected with a string. So if something were to go wrong with one panel, you would have a string of say 8 to 12 panels that would go down as well. So the micro inverters changed that, where the conversion from direct current to alternating current, whole nother conversation, but we need alternating current coming into our homes. So the microinverters were where that conversion took place right at that panel. So if one panel went down, that one panel would be down and everything else would still be fine. We now use what's called DC optimizers, which has the concept of the microinverter, but just a little bit different. So it travels in direct current a little bit further, but it still fixes the problem of you know, a whole string going down. So we use DC optimizers with a central inverter, which we feel offers the best system to our customers.
Okay, great. Now, just general cost, is there a rule of thumb that, you know, people could, you know, on their own just figure what a basic solar panel system would cost them?
It's really tough to, because there's really not much of a cookie cutter type solar system. Every solar system is custom. Every solar system is meant to, you know, or should be meant to fulfill the needs of that particular home and family. So it's really best to, you know, it's very, very pain-free to, especially now, you know, consultations we're doing virtually. So it's really easier than ever to find out exactly what that cost would be for your home and your system. But a good rule of thumb is, you know, between $3 to $4 per watt. speaking in industry terms, but figuring out how many watts you need, we'd love to be able to help you with that.
Great. And we'd always encourage everybody, make sure you get 2 or 3 quotes from different installers just to see everybody's on the same playing field when it comes to cost, and make sure you're comparing apples to apples also with the systems.
And us as installers, we know that people do that, and it really helps to keep the cost at a pure price point where everybody's in competition with each other. So the prices are not one person should be leaps and bounds more expensive or less expensive than somebody else.
Exactly. Okay, great. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the scheduled closing of Indian Point, which is supposed to start this year, and how you think that's going to affect the solar industry.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I don't think there's one exact answer. We feel that it's most certainly going to lead to more expensive electricity cost. Going back to how you have 2 portions of your bill, your delivery and supply, shouldn't necessarily affect the delivery portion of your bill, but will most likely certainly affect the supply part of your bill. So where we're seeing supply rates now at anywhere between 5 to 8 cents, kind of my thought is we're going to see them somewhere around 10 to 12 cents for supply, and that's only because there's not as much of it as there once was. Also, Indian Point's being subsidized by less efficient natural gas plants. So these are really old plants that cost a lot to run and produce, even though natural gas is pretty cheap. It does take a lot to process that. So we're expecting energy rates to increase and more brownouts, so less of it available, especially in these weird times. Everybody's at home and using power, and so brownouts, less power available, and more expensive costs is what we expect will happen.
Yeah, so getting a solar system will help reduce those costs, and getting a battery will help you during those brownouts. So definitely worth a consideration there.
Yeah, and just a really quick touch on that, it is a good point. I mean, so solar with net metering, if those energy rates start to skyrocket, net metering protects you from that, and being able to produce your own power on your roof or in your yard or with a solar canopy or however, you avoid those increased costs. And then with the home battery and those brownouts, you have power when everybody else is down. So it really is a good time to look into it and to make that leap.
Great. So here's kind of another question just regarding the solar industry. The Shelton Group, which is a major marketing corporation, they focus primarily on energy and environmental issues. They follow social trends. Like I said before, we know that 1/3 of the population that's looking for a house is looking for one that has solar on it. Shelton Group is predicting that after COVID-19, people are going to be even more interested in being self-sufficient and having control over their lives and their homes. And they expect that the demand for solar is going to skyrocket. So I'm just curious, have you guys even seen an increase in inquiries since this whole coronavirus stuff is?
Absolutely. It's been, kind of when this all started, it was, it's scary. What are we going to do? How are we going to survive this? And then it really has. We've had an influx of inquiries, people reaching out to us, especially for home batteries. We've seen a huge jump in interest for those. So yeah, I mean, our installers and our construction is, kind of limited due to the rules and the stay-at-home orders, which is 100% is what we need to do. But we're definitely still able to help. We're here to help those folks that really are reaching out. So we're certainly seeing what they're showing there for sure.
So are you conducting virtual consultations? Because I know for us in the real estate business, that's what we're doing. We're doing virtual open houses. We're doing virtual buyer consultations. We're still doing some business, but limited. So are you able to still help your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing a virtual visit as a consultation, which is, I believe, 100% as efficient as it was when we were at the kitchen table. So we're still able to, look at your home via satellite. So technology is great where we can take a look at, your home, your roof, your yard, where your trees are, what trees are there, what trees aren't. And we can, via screen share, actually draw a system for you and give you an expectation or a proposal of, how much power you can get and what it would cost. So yeah, absolutely, we can still help.
That's great. And one thing that I find is an interesting environmental benefit of everybody doing these virtual consultations now is we don't have people driving
Got
to
it.
and from offices to meet face to face, so we're saving a little bit there. So that's always
Some of
great.
those stories about the cities where the pollution is just
I know.
way less than it was, and the skies are clear. I saw one where in India you could see the mountains for the first time in years. So I mean, if there is a silver lining, I would say that's probably one of them.
Yeah, I'm actually very hopeful that we continue some of these virtual consultations once it's all said and done. We go back to
Yeah, definitely. Yes, in there.
outside. So yeah, great. Um, well, excellent. I think that we've kind of come to the end of our webinar, and it's time to talk about our fun stuff that I referenced at the beginning. And so why don't you tell everyone what's happening with SunCommon? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so well, we're doing a couple of things. So right now, and especially to meet the need of what we've been seeing and living up to our B Corp values, we really want to make it as easy and affordable as possible to have that protection from the unknown that's hitting us all at this point. So we've packaged together a kind of small system, a 6 kilowatt system with a home battery. We have the cost reduced to a point where it's the best, price point we've ever been able to offer. So that's available, a small system with a home battery backup promotion that's available through April. Maybe that gets extended, but and then also, as part of this series and part of wanting to be connected with our community and the need for small businesses to really kind of hang tight, hang on and make it through this. So any virtual visits that we'll take on right now, and a virtual visit is really, hey, let's chat. We're great people. Happy to just take a look at your situation and help you figure out the best way forward for you. And so by doing that, just reaching out, letting us have a chat with you, we'll donate or buy a gift certificate of $25 to either a restaurant or a small business of your choice. And that's you as the person reaching out. So those are a couple of things we're trying to do. Our employees, so we're on a minimum staff right now, but we're furloughed, so our employees still have their benefits and their company cars and equipment and things like that. So we're kind of primed to come out on the other side of this healthy as ever, and we want to be able to share kind of that with our community.
Great. And I'm going to just share my screen here with your contact information on it. I hope everybody can see that. That's how you can reach out to Craig directly. You can also just PM me if you want to get in touch with him, and I can put you guys together. Not a problem there. And so let's get back to me. I'm going to try to unshare my screen. There we go. Okay, we're back. And so now we reach the point where here's my contest. My contest is if anybody can guess where the photo is of my virtual background, where it was taken here in the Hudson Valley, you get a $10 gift card to Dunkin' Donuts. So I'm going to kind of move out of the way. Everybody take a look. Where do you think that picture was taken? So just go ahead and PM me with your answer, and the first person to get it right wins a gift card. So I just want to thank Craig for being a part of this, and I thank everybody for joining us, and hopefully we'll get more people to convert to solar. It's a great year to do it.
Let's do it.
All
Thanks.
right.
Appreciate you putting it together.
All right. Thanks a lot, Craig. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Awesome.